Hello. Yes. So this video is going to be very long. Please watch it at 2x if you are actually planning to watch the whole thing. I have several thoughts about a particular topic. I'm not sure if I can cover all of them in this video itself. Sometimes I might have to go and create more videos. But the point is, there is this whole topic of um, saving the world, perhaps, which I want to talk about. There are plenty of smaller things I want to bring in that. Um, I've been trying to do a lot of writing, but it's not coming together. In the sense, the medium is proving to be a bit hard for me for expressing these things because I think this needs a medium which is more expressive than just writing. So that's why I'm doing video. Of course, I've been inspired by Ravikant Kisana, one of my recent favorites when it comes to stuff like this. But also, yeah. So let's cut out that part. So basically, I'm gonna talk about um, today something that has been inspired or is provoked is a response to a particular Frere Study Circle video. As in, there was a live session which I attended on YouTube while continuously giving my commentary on YouTube about this idea of Frere and pedagogy of the oppressed, and there are so many topics that came up in the course of that video. So I am basically going to talk about my thoughts about the whole topic that Frere goes into the book. Uh, the funniest thing is, I have not read Pedagogy of the Oppressed, Pedagogy, whatever you call it. I mean, I have tried. It's not that I haven't tried. I've charted it 3 times. First time, I simply couldn't go past the preface. The preface was very accessible, but then after that, the first chapter onwards, it's very, very hard. The second time, I slept through while my friends were reading it. I slept in chapter 1, and then the third time was at the beginning of this study circle itself, which I couldn't join because it had closed by then. And then I started reading, and then I was like, why are there so many jargons? And I went to a website which had a study guide for Frere, and then I kind of um, I kind of get the point that Freire is trying to make, or think I do. So I'm going to talk about that only in this video. So what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to talk about critical thinking, that particular aspect of what is critical thinking, and what do I think about it, and how do we practice critical thinking. And then after that, I'm going to talk about what I believe is the context in which Pedagogy of the Oppressed is written, and why it's written, and what it is all about, and why is there a whole book called Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and what is this, and all of that. In that section, I cover the idea of oppressed, oppressor, and all of that. And then in the last part of the video, I will try to talk about um, what really is the problem and what we need to actually be doing. And that's why I'm going to title this video Pedagogy of the Oppressor, because as you will realize, I think the real problem is that uh, the oppressors need to be okay. Let me first okay, the ending is a surprise. Even to me it's a surprise. I'm not sure what I'm gonna see. So this is not a scripted video. This is me talking all the things I've been thinking about writing or talking in one go. This is the first take, and I only had a sound check before this, so um, I hope this actually comes out. So critical thinking. The question is, how do we know something? How do we know truth? How do we know the reality? Let's say, let's start with the simplest point. An apple falls to the ground. So if you ask questions like why does it fall to the ground, will it always fall at the same speed, will it sometimes go up? These are the kind of questions that natural curiosity will make us ask. At least when we were kids we would be asking these kind of questions. um, and now all human beings have had these kind of thoughts all the time, right? So now, what do human beings do after that? There are two options. In in the rote learning kind of, whatever the opposite of critical thinking is, in the unthinking kind of style, there is either the question is ignored altogether, or the question is answered by someone else. Like, you ask someone else the question and you take their answer, whatever their answer is, you take it as the truth. Okay, this is the reality. So someone says apple falls to the ground because the tree has sent it to the ground, and suddenly you're like, okay, yes, apple falls to the ground because the tree has sent it to the ground. That's the kind of uh, and then there's no question after that. Will it fall up? Will it go up? No, it won't, because the tree has sent it down. At what speed will it go? It will always go at the speed that the tree has sent it down. So, end of story. But if someone is doing critical thinking, they are always going to answer that question themselves. They cannot take someone else's answer. That's the whole and soul of critical thinking. Critical thinking starts with the point that I cannot trust anyone else. I cannot be taking something as the truth without me having realized it, verified it, or understood it as the truth myself. And also, basically, I do not trust even myself. I always am questioning the nature of truth. That's how critical thinking kind of works. I mean, I'll try to give more examples. So, in this Apple example itself, so with critical thinking, the question would be, um, might it be the tree sending it down? Might it be that all things always fall down? Might it be that mm, things attract? I mean, of course, Newton has already invented or discovered, or whatever you want to call it, the concept of gravity, and therefore it's difficult to think fresh. Although it should be possible for critical thinkers to think fresh in any situation, and that's the crux of critical thinking. Can you think fresh on matters that you feel are already well settled? If you can think fresh, then you are a critical thinker. So when the apple falls, you generate all of these hypotheses, you generate all of these theories in your mind, because you're questioning, you don't settle at anyone. And then when you have a lot of these theories, you try to find out which could be the truth. You ask yourself whether this is likely, that is likely, and then how do you convince yourself that one of it is more likely? So you think about things other than, so apple falls from the tree. So if the hypothesis is that the tree sends it down, and what about things where you have an apple that's already separated, you buy it from the store and you keep it somewhere, and you know, you make it fall down. it'll still fall down. There's no tree involved, but it will still fall down. So you kind of discard that theory. So you're trying to move to a better theory all the time, and then okay, now you have a gravity theory. Okay, everything is attracting everything else all the time, and then you try to uh, verify if that's true. If I keep an apple and an orange, do they go towards each other? I don't see them going towards each other. So then, could it be true? Then you think about, okay, what if it's only if it's a very big mass that can actually pull things? So you keep refining these ideas, and then you arrive at better and better theories that represent truth to closer and closer to the reality. So we'll critical thinking kind of stems from the humility that we'll never be able to know reality in its fullest, that we are always stuck with ideas and theories that approximate that to the maximum possible extent. And how do we know if something is actually working? Um, if a theory is actually working, the theory should be able to predict what is happening. So if a theory that I have about gravity is always able to predict, okay, this at this speed it will fall down and all of that, then I know that theory is correct, or as correct as it can be. So even in the case of gravity, people might be like, okay, but a feather doesn't fall as the prediction of the gravity. There are issues, and then people come up with the idea that no, that's because of air, the drag. So if you try it on a environment where there's zero gravity, or if you try it on the moon, the things are different. So you come up with those kinds of ideas, which means see, even gravity you have revised. Gravity is not the only thing that is acting when the apple is falling down. There's also air drag, and there is all of those things come up. So you keep revising, and the revisions are forced by this continuous critical thinking, by this continuous observation, reflection, experiment, reflection, thinking, action, reflection cycles is what many people call it. I think even Frederick calls it that. I heard it for the first time in Sochara, where I spent some of my time. So that's it. Now, this same thing about critical thinking is applicable not just to natural, apple and tree and physics and chemistry and all of that. It's also applicable to human society. How do we go about the life, and how do we make theories about the world? How do we look at the world, our world view, and how do we make sense of, how do we predict what's going to happen? How do we know how a person is going to feel? How do we know how a society is going to react to a certain situation? All of that are questions, right? Like um, I want to know tomorrow morning if the sun will rise. I can use physics to answer that. I want to know tomorrow morning if the newspaper is going to arrive at the. Uh, I don't subscribe to newspaper, but my neighbor does, at the neighbor's doorstep. Yes, we can arrive at an answer to that. It doesn't use physics, but it uses our observation and worldview and model about how the world works. So if today is a holiday for press, I know that tomorrow it won't arrive. If today is a working day, I know that it will arrive. But even if today is working day, I know that there could be extraneous situations which cause the newspaper to not come. There could be something else that happens. There could be a fire, there could be a bomb blast, I don't know. So our ways to predict what's going to happen in human society is also based on critical thinking, is also based on the action reflection cycle and all of that. Mm, Let me give you a better example. This newspaper thing was not good. You want to affect change. You want to run an organization. You want to think about having 100 people do certain things and build a course, an educational course. You want 100 things to fall in place. You want someone to edit the videos. You want someone to create content. You want someone to shoot. You want someone to think about evaluation, all of this. So now when you want to do all of this, you need to be able to run a team. You need to be able to rely on your observations about how people will react to certain situations, what people's skills are, what kind of critical perspectives do someone bring, and you need to know motivation, you need to know about teamwork, you need to know about um, um, pedagogy itself, kind of going meta there. You need to know about how what is the content you're trying to deliver. Banking, okay, we'll come. I'm giving you some callbacks. Okay, content you're going to deliver, banking model of education. So you need to know about your audience, who are going to learn, who are going to be the learners, what is the objective of the course, uh, why do learners exist, what are they trying to learn. So in human society, everything that you do is eventually gonna connect back to the larger world. You cannot do anything in isolation. It's so bad. Like you can take an apple and go to moon and make it fall, and you can predict what happens just based on physics. But you can't predict whether the newspaper is going to arrive tomorrow morning, unless you unless you know everything about the society. Like if tomorrow Pakistan declares a war on India, or America declares a war on India, uh, you cannot know that unless and until um, um, it's actually tomorrow. And then yeah, so how do we predict things about the human world? Then that's the fundamental challenge from which um, all of these sociology, society, I mean humanities, all of that exist. So now one now let's go to this second section. What is the context in which this book called Pedagogy of the Oppressed is written by Paulo Freire? So now, if you're not familiar with the book, it's a book written by a person called Paulo Freire, who is supposedly a theologist, education. I mean, he's got a Christian background, and he's an educator, and he was in Latin America, and he was part of some kind of revolution. I don't know much about the book. Please go read and Wikipedia. But basically, it talks about oppressed, oppressor, problem solving method, or something of teaching, education, liberation, and conscientization, humanitization. I'm going to explain all of these terms as I understand very shortly. It's talking about all of these words. It's talking about how a human being with a set of privileges should should act in the world, should work in the world. So what is the context to this? The context to this is that the world is full of problems. The world is a place that is very painful for a lot of people. For a very large number of people, the world is full of suffering. The world is it's not equal, at least. A lot of people have good, comfortable life, material comforts, and a lot of people have a very bad, uncomfortable life. And this realization, my informal guess is a lot of people do not have this realization, or they do not care about this. A lot of people who are comfortable do not care about the fact that a lot of people are not comfortable in their lives. So this is called privilege blindness. Someone who is able to sit in a room and talk, or have a fan, have a constant stream of income, um, have food all 3 times a day, or 4 times a day, or n number of times a day, and is comfortably living a life without sickness, without facing trauma, abuse, without facing any kinds of issues. um, these people um, exist, and these people are not able to think about people who are facing constant crisis. um, and there are so many different angles of this crisis. So these people are there, okay, a large number of privileged people are like this. Now, some of these people who are privileged, at some point in their life, based on when they're exposed to literature that refers to these kind of things, and based on when they find out Ambedkar, or queer movement, or feminist movement, or Freire, some people realize that this problem exists, that there is inequity, that there is people suffering, and there are people who are comfortable, that the world is not equal. Some people realize that. So this is already a very small set of people, okay. Now, all of this pedagogy of the oppressed, all of what organizations who are kind of thinking in terms of critical studies, sociology, humanities, and all of that, they're all stuck in this tiny bit of realization that there is oppression, and that we need to do something about it, that we need to fix this, we need to have a fairer world, have a more just world, and we need to make life comfortable for more number of people. So that is the problem, that is the framing, that is the context in which people like Freire enter our life. um, so there are two roles that books like Pedagogy of the Oppressed are playing in our society today. One role is to make people go from completely ignorant to knowing some words about, this is not nice, this is bad. So going from this to that. But actually, in my understanding, Freire is writing uh, after this step. Freire's writing is basically a critical thinking on how one should go about doing things to fix these inequities in the world. It's actually one step ahead of where people already are. So if people are not already thinking about how they can be part of the solution, and then they read Freire, then they are gonna start thinking about it. Or in the sense, if people are blissfully ignorant and they're like comfortable, and then they read Freire or Ambedkar or anyone, then they are like, oh, there is this problem. So for many people, it's the first time that they're thinking about the problem, how to go about solving it, and all of that. So these people will come up with one particular understanding of Freire, whereas there are people who have already been at this realization, who are thinking about how do we the critical thinking is on questions like, okay, someone is suffering, but how do we fix them, how do we fix them how do we fix the suffering? Okay, how do we fix the situation if someone is suffering, and we want to do something? What do we do? Do we go and destroy the picture? Do we talk to this person? Do we tell them what to do? We listen to what they are telling us what to do? So this whole confusion of what how do we proceed is where actually this book is written, is my feeling. um, Now the challenge is, this is one particular answer by Freire as to his action reflection cycle. He did a particular kind of action, and he kind of came up with certain set of solutions, and he's talking about this, and yeah, so I mean, there's no challenge in that. The challenge is in when people are not critically thinking about this set of solutions and what it means and all of that. So let me first perhaps talk about the book itself, and then I'll come to some of the critical aspects of why we need to be more critical. Um, I think the first chapter is all about something called critical consciousness, conscientization, or something like that, which is basically about the idea that, okay, so before we talk about that, we need to talk about oppressor, oppressed, and the title itself. The title of the book is Pedagogy of the Oppressed. So, what on earth is oppressed? What on earth is oppressor? And this is in this particular reading circle that I was attending the last session of. I didn't attend the reading circle. I was listening to the last session. Um, this question was at the very beginning: who is oppressed? Who is oppressor? What is oppression? And all of that. So there is an answer that I have, which is based in intersectionality and which is kind of nuanced. Now, before coming to that answer, we need to go to an intermediate answer, which is what a lot of people are right now waking up to. The realization that there is an oppressor and oppressed, and then people are asking, am I oppressor or am I oppressed? And then we can talk about intersectionality and how all of that, how to go out of the binary. So first let's talk about oppression. Oppression is basically um, oppression is the manifestation of inequality. So if there is an unequal society, okay, I just made up this definition. I don't know if it's perfect, but if there is inequality in the society, how does it manifest? What are the symptoms of inequality? That is where oppression comes in. So how do we know that there is inequality? When we see oppression, we know that there is inequality. When we see that, okay, this is a nice example that came up within the session today also. Before talking about that, oh, I wish I had that book right here. So there's this book by Nehru, uh, which talks about Nehru's formative experiences about oppression and all of that. Um, it's funny. Let me first give you the example that happened in the circle today. So in the circle today, someone said, in trains these days in Indian railways, because the general compartments have become lesser and the sleeper compartments have also become lesser, people are now entering AC compartments without ticket and or without reservation or whatever. And though earlier they were already suffering in general compartment and sleeper compartment, now because people in AC compartments are suffering, it's becoming a news, and that it was not a news earlier, something like that. So this is a very interesting situation where there is oppression all the time, and then but it now enters the critical consciousness of the elite because it's now a problem for them as well. So this was a very nice example that came up in the discussion. And the very interesting thing is Nehru in his book, so this is some selected collection that I'm reading, talks about his childhood where he has seen the English people had certain reserved compartments, and then the Indians weren't able to enter that no matter how much rush there was in the other compartments, the Indian compartments, and that this was unfair. So this is the example that Nehru used to demonstrate his understanding of unfairness. So when I was reading this just 2 days back, I was like, how have things changed? Instead of the English, we have the elite. You can call them Savarna, you can call them rich, whatever they are. The elite are in the role that the English have, and then now the elite also are suffering because the elite voted for a government which wrecked up the railways. So anyhow, so this situation is a good example of oppression. there is inequality and it manifests in this way. People suffer. There is a there's a violation of some or the other natural right, the right to life, the right to liberty, the right to expression, the right to opportunities, the right to equality. When any of these are violated, that is oppression. Simply put, it's a manifestation of these inequalities, and we can see it in form of violation of any fundamental human right. So when there is a violation that's happening, someone has to violate something, right? I mean, people. Now this is also very important. I mean, when I say someone has to violate, I know for a fact that there are systemic causes and there are individuals. So the question always comes to, is it the system that is oppressing people, or is it other people that is oppressing people? So this is kind of a very important question. When there is a system that is created in a particular way, and so let's take the railway example itself. When there is a system that there will be 21 compartments, and that there will be 5 6 of them AC compartment, 10 9 10 of them as sleeper non AC, and then some others as general. This is a system that's designed, right? And now who designed this system? Who is perpetuating the system? Who is not fighting against this system? who is um, who is responsible for the system? Who is the government? How did we come about having a government? Who is voting people to power? Who gets power? Who gets decision making system? Who gets to allocate budget to certain kind of activities, and not certain kind of activities? All of these will decide this problem, right? All these questions that I just told will decide whether someone is going to have a comfortable ride from Bangalore to Bihar, right? So if someone is not having a comfortable ride, if someone is facing violence, oppression on a train ride, it is of course a system which is oppressing them, but this system is perpetuated and built by a lot of people. There could be situations where these people are visibly present. There could be situations where someone is being rash to someone else, someone is abusing someone else. So it's easy to say, okay, this person is oppressor, this person is oppressed. But even there, the person who is so-called oppressor is not doing it on their own. It's not being only themselves. It's they're empowered by a certain system to be an oppressor. So oppression is at the same time systemic, and at the same time that system is perpetuated by all of us, and then sometimes it operates also through all of us, and therefore it is much easier to say that anyone who is not fighting the system is part of the oppressors, and anyone who is suffering is oppressed, and there is no binary there. You could be suffering because of the system you yourself created, and therefore you could be an oppressor to yourself. You could be an oppressor and the oppressed at the same time. And yeah, you could be. So that's the question: are there people who are purely oppressed? That is one question that we'll need to address. We can easily say that everyone is an oppressor and oppressed, but are there people who are purely oppressed, and vice versa? Are there people who are purely oppressors? I think that later question is very interesting, because nobody in the world will say that they are not facing oppression. Everyone, You ask Ambani will be like, I am facing so many oppression because I'm, my factories are not working. I am getting lots of tax cuts and all of that, all of that. So Ambani and Trump and Bill Gates, everyone will say they're oppressed. So it's easy to find ways to say that we are oppressed, and for me it's easier to find ways to say we are oppressors, because that's the thing. So whether there are purely people who are oppressed, people who are not oppressors in any form, that will depend on how we look at the agency of individuals, and the respect we have for each human being and their potential. So if someone is let's say someone can't hear and someone can't speak, and someone can't see, and all of that, are they oppressed? Are they fully oppressed? Or do they still have power and agency to affect change in the world? I mean, I don't know much about Helen Keller, but I think Helen Keller fit the description that I just said. So it's really a crazy idea to say someone is powerless. I cannot say any single individual is powerless. Maybe a dead individual is powerless. I don't know, but if someone is alive, then they do have some or the other power, and any power can be used or not used. And when a power is not used, then they become part of oppressing and all of that. So yeah, so let's keep it at that. Now the question is, you have oppressed, you have oppressors. Let's say there is oppression. So first we have to identify ourselves as oppressor, if we have to go into the idea of pedagogy of the oppressed, because it's really written for the oppressors. It's written for the audience who want to go and affect change. It's not written for people to read and be like, oh, this is happening to me. It's not a self-study book. So it's not for the oppressed. It's pedagogy of the oppressed, for the oppressor to use this pedagogy to, you know, teach the oppressed. So so in that context, you have to claim yourself as the oppressor. You have to count your privileges. You have to say that, okay, I am educated, or I can read English, or I have access to internet, or I have some stable wealth, I have caste privilege, I have gender privilege, or I am not of a marginalized sexual identity, sexual orientation, I am not I am not living in a conflict zone, I am not living in I have a house, I have roof over my head, I'm not hungry. So there are 100 different ways to count your privileges. um, so you have to count some of these privileges, and you have to make the point in your mind that you are now gonna affect change in the world, that you're gonna use your privileges to do something good for those who are not as privileged as you are. And so in this measurement of privilege is where a lot of people get stuck. They're all thinking, okay, I am not I'm not rich enough, so I'm not privileged, or I am not of this particular gender, so I'm not privileged. I'm not a American. I'm an Indian. Indians have been forever been colonized, so no Indian can be privileged. So if we are thinking in those terms, we cannot do this. We have to, we have to act from the perspective that anyone with any privilege can be using that privilege for change. So if we are ready to do that, then uh, we look at the world and we see others who are, let's not worry about their privilege, they might have some privilege that they're not, but others who are suffering, and we are like, okay, we can help with that suffering. We are like, We can do something which eliminates this suffering. So this is where the whole problem of how we go about comes up. Yeah. So in the world, if you look at, there are people who are like, I'm gonna put money, I'm gonna donate money. That's the simplest example. So I have money, I will give you money, and you can do whatever you want. I love those people. They are they're the best kind of liberators, because they have money and they're giving it. No questions asked, no career conscientization, no bullshit. They're like, you don't have money, I have money, I'll give you money. You do what good things you can do with it. Then there are people who are like, okay, I don't have money, but I'm gonna, I'm gonna be with you and fight the oppression that you're facing. I'm gonna I'm gonna go to the railway minister and say we are gonna need more general compartments, not AC compartments, general compartments. We're gonna need more general compartments so that more people can travel uh, in the general compartment. Or so this is actually a form of solidarity. This is what is called solidarity, right? Like when you are going and fighting the battle with someone. Now there are some issues there. Some people would like to tell others what battle to fight and how to fight it and what is the strategy, what is our demand. And some people do this out of the idea that these others do not know what they need. Yeah, you know. A best example is health NGOs. Health NGOs are the worst. So um, they'll go to a slum and they'll be like, you need to know the 7 steps of hand washing, because if you don't do hand washing, then you're gonna have problems. You're gonna get diarrhea. So that that's a very good example of affecting change, the solidarity of the kind of, you don't know something, so I'm gonna teach you, I'm gonna tell you what to do, and this thing and all that. So now this particular people, set of people who are going somewhere and teaching, the Freire is actually trying to tell them of a different style of pedagogy. Freire is going to tell them, don't go and teach. Freire is telling them they already know, or that we need to use as a different method, and that we need to focus on oppression as a structure, and not in terms of skills, not in terms of okay, don't tell people that you need to brush your teeth, but talk about how people are not able to have access to running water, or you get the point. Don't tell them to wash hands, but talk about why are they not having uh, wash basins and water and all that. So this interesting situation where people set up NGOs and they go about telling others what to do, and trying to affect change by teaching, is what pedagogy of the oppressed is a response to. Unfortunately, a lot of people think that it's a great insight to have, that we shouldn't be teaching, that we should be learning from others, that we should be recognizing other people's experiences and other people's different lived experiences, other people's different contexts, different backgrounds, and therefore how we can never truly understand someone else and their conditions, and therefore we cannot be teaching them. We have to first understand, and all of that. This insight that we should be humble, we should be having the humility to listen, to talk to someone about their experiences, and probably synthesize from ours and theirs. This insight, a lot of people do not have. And once they get this, they're like, wow, this is the thing. They're stuck in this inside forever. They are so awestruck by this idea that other people have lived experiences, and then this idea of humility. I'm so humble, so I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen. I'm going to be a listener in this. I'm going to do learning, unlearning, relearning, unlearning, relearning, unlearning, learning, unlearning, whatever. That they're stuck in this forever. They for them, the idea that they are humble and that they're listening is the thing. They want to focus on this a lot. They want to focus on forever talking about this. This this is the problem. This is where people get stuck. This is where I think Freire is also stuck. The idea that talking to others, getting them. No, actually, Freire is not stuck there. So I'm sorry. I'm taking that back immediately. Freire has gone one step ahead. Freire has gone one step ahead. Freire has still not gone one more step ahead. There is another step I want to bring up, but Freire has gone ahead of these particular people also. These particular people who are stuck in this. There's no us versus them. We're all the same. We're all equal. We should be all listening to each other, learning from each other, all of that shit. Freire has gone one step ahead, and Freire realizes that there is an element of um, teaching that has to happen. I'm not sure if Freire actually realizes that and articulates it, but it's evident that Freire is talking about pedagogy. So Freire is talking about teaching. So in some ways, Freire does have this idea that okay, so that's the point, the conscientization. So what he says is, there is the oppressed, but they might be stuck. There is the oppressed, but they might be stuck in a certain situation. They might be unaware of. They might not be open to the idea of them being the oppressed. Like the idea that there is oppression, that they are oppressed, and that there's a way to get rid of this oppression. They might not be open to that idea. That's what Freire says with conscientization. Conscientization is raising this critical consciousness, giving vocabulary to people to understand their. So I'm gonna make the assumption that I'm gonna take the best out of Freire. I'm gonna assume that the Freire is already thinking about many of these things. I'm not sure if Freire actually did, but I'm gonna assume that. So Freire says that people know that they're oppressed, but they are not thinking about it. They're not conscious about it. They feel it, but they don't have words for it. They don't talk about it all the time. They don't talk about how this is oppressive, how we need to change the system, how we need to dismantle the system. They don't, because of various reasons. Freire lists down reasons. They're afraid of freedom. They're afraid of what will happen. They internalize a lot of these and things like that. That's what Freire says, and that we need to first raise critical consciousness, critical conscientization, something like that. So in some ways I agree, in some ways I disagree. I agree that a lot of people are not constantly thinking about oppression that they're facing. I agree with that. It's become part of life. It's easier to live coping life than to try and change things. It's difficult to change things, and therefore people don't always think about oppression. That's true. That's a fact of life. But at the same time, the idea that there needs to be uh, an outsider going and telling what is happening, and then doing all of that, I don't think that exists. That is really this thing. And the reason I say that Freire has actually understood this and gone one step ahead is, I think in the last chapter, I have not read this chapter, I'm just going by ChatGPT's review and all of that, and my understanding of what Freire might have meant. Freire talks about this revolutionary leader or something like that. So what he's saying is, we, instead of us being just talking about all of this, we be part of that fight. We lead the fight. We put our energy into the fight. We put our hand. We be there. We be there in solidarity and all of that. So since Freire ends like that, I feel like Freire has gone not from the sense of let people be educated about thing, and then they will themselves break free of it, because right now they don't know about it. Is it? Yeah. So Freire has gone ahead of that, and there he's like, it's basically a matter of people not having either the energy or the time or the coming together. They don't have. It is not easy to come together and fight, right? So, and therefore it's important for people to go and be there and contribute energy, especially if you have that energy, if you have power, if you have privilege. And this is what a lot of NGOs do, right? NGOs, they set up systems where they're there and they're affecting change. They say we have empowered people and all of that, but what is actually happening is, these NGOs are there. They brought either money, or they brought people. Their very presence there is forcing the system to change, and the empowerment is actually because they are there. But knowingly or unknowingly, they are in solidarity with the community, and that is how they affect change. So so that conscientization and revolutionary leader, there are some issues, but I think it becomes very clear when Freire is talking about true generosity and false generosity. That is the in Ravikant Kisana has written an article called "Saving the World Like a Savarna," and I think that's a perfect example of where false generosity comes from, and what is a mindset where false generosity comes from. So in that example, Vikant gives us this professor who was teaching Freire, who was teaching Marx and all of that in the classroom, and then in the private chamber, this professor is making fun of the students who are from certain marginalized backgrounds. So where is this coming from? This is coming from the idea that um, generosity is to be given. Because I'm a good person, I have to be generous, and therefore I give generosity. That is false generosity. True generosity is realizing I am a rich person, I'm a privileged person, and then using that privilege and being there, being a revolutionary leader, being there in solidarity. That's true generosity. And when doing that, also this other issue of I think humanization, dehumanization. That's the next topic that Freire discusses. We need to stop seeing people as purely as oppressed, oppressor, and we need to humanize them. If we do not see people as fundamentally human beings who are prone to all kinds of cognitive biases, all kinds of patterns, living in one patterned life. They're oppressed today, they'll be oppressed tomorrow, they'll be oppressed tomorrow, day after tomorrow. They're oppressor today, they'll be oppressor day after tomorrow, and all of that. Because human beings are like that. Human beings just live life just like that. They don't always think about life, they don't always change life, and all of that. So, this process of humanization is this process of realizing that people are not sociological categories, that people are human beings, and therefore we need to be kind to them and be compassionate, and then do our thing, and then respect dignity, talk to people, share experiences, get experiences from them, learn from each other, all of that. So that's what humanization is all about. So true generosity, false generosity, humanization, conscientization, revolutionary leader. Is there anything else? So basically, then there's this question of how do we go about affecting change? So I think Freire, at least from his life experience, so what he's done is he I think he was into literacy movement in Latin America. There was very poor literacy, and then he wanted to increase people's literacy so that they're able to express, articulate, and fight, and all of that. And in that, he didn't use A for apple kind of pedagogy. Oh, A for apple, B for bad. Instead, he was like A for apartheid. I don't know. I'm just making this up. Instead, they used letters and words and language and all of that in a way that it tied to people's daily life, and such that they're able to use it better. They're able to learn better also. So it's always a better learning method if you're connecting it to your personal life. And in this case, Freire basically mixed the idea of how to fight and how to all of that with literacy and all this thing. So this whole concept is supposedly called Freirean method of education. It's basically always juxtaposed with this banking model of education. Banking model of education is so called I have some knowledge, I give it to you. Transfer of learning kind of education. And this Freirean method is basically making it intense, make the whole learning experience personal, intense, political, and then question everything, and then bring up words and use people's experience, make it very personal, make it very intense. That is what Freire method is. So a lot of people confuse this with Socratic method, and because people are so not used to this not doing anything other than banking method. So even today, you go to a college, university, wherever, you talk about people who are doing Freire, who are teaching Freire itself. What they'll do is they'll switch on a PowerPoint, show the slides, and then they're like, yeah, this is the point, conscientization, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. This thing, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now you don't need a Freire to tell that this is a stupid method, because there is no involvement, there's no engagement. See, it's like this video. I am doing all of the talking. But I hope that I'm not doing just talking. If I was just presenting a set of words with no connection to reality, then that would be banking model. But if I am just doing a presentation, but all the slides are hard hitting, all the sides are coming from people, and what if I have made this presentation with the engagement of some of the people, and what if there's enough pauses for discussion or thinking, in not discussion, thinking. So even if there's no discussion, no question answer, there can still be Freire. That's what I feel about Freire. Because it's not about question answer, it's not about me recognizing that I cannot tell all the things, I have to make you answer. That's not what the opposite of banking model is. That's not what the Freire method is. The Freire method is that the fundamental humility that people are equally experienced, and that people equally experience, not that the same experience, they have some other experiences. This person has another experience, this person has another experience, I have another experience. I might have a certain totally different skill set if I'm thinking the oppressor oppressed binary, and therefore I bring my skill set, you bring your skill set, and we try to synthesize the truth. So I get really uncomfortable when people take Freire to the classroom and say, okay, we are going to follow this Freire approach in the classroom. We're going to make people, ask question problem solving approach, problem posing approach, whatever shit they call it. I do not like that. I mean, you call it, you do it. I'm not saying you don't do it. It should be done. But don't make it like this is Freire. Freire is for the world. Freire is for solving real world problems. If you want a better pedagogy in your classroom, you follow better pedagogy. You read about educational strategies and talk to people, and there are so many other strategies. A lecture can be a very good pedagogic method for the classroom. A lecture has to be crafted in a certain way. A brainstorming session can be a good pedagogy. A quiz can be a pedagogy. A seminar by a student can be a pedagogy. It can also be a Socratic method. A Socratic method is a good pedagogy. So don't make Freire about a Socratic method of asking questions and people answering. Um, that's not Freire. Uh, Reducing Freire to that, I think, is one of the examples of people having false generosity. People talking about Freire, people talking about oppressed, oppressor, and all of that, and then saying, okay, I practice Freire in my classroom. No, you can't practice Freire in your classroom. A classroom is an oppressive space. A classroom is a structure where there's a teacher is paid, a student is paying. So there can never be a Freire there. You are already in a system where there is a clear oppressor, oppressed, a clear hierarchy. And then you are saying, no, I will break through the hierarchy and create Freire in my classroom. No, it's impossible. If you want to practice Freire, you go out of the classroom and do Freire. In the classroom, you do Socratic method, you do all the other things. Okay, so that was in response to some things that happened in the live session. Anyhow, this constant question of what is Freire method, and what does Freire actually tell us, and what is oppressor, oppressed, who am I, oppressor, am I oppressed, all of these questions, when people consistently ask, then I think they are in the right track. I'm not trying to discourage them. They are in the right track, but they need to stop trying to look within Freire for the answer. They need to stop trying to look within Ambedkar, within any book for the answer. They need to start doing things. The action reflection cycle is what will help them move forward. They need to do something and try something. They need to form a hypothesis about how the world works, and they need to try to change it. And when they do that and they feel something is working, something is not working, they need to revise the theories. They need to come up with better theories, and they need to start doing this critical thinking. That is what the lesson should be about. And in that particular thinking, I think the step after all of these, am I oppressor, oppressed, and all of that, is, I think, intersectionality. So this is the last part of this video. I will go, I'm going to end it soon. You're going to suffer less. Intersectionality is the understanding that every person's lived experience is different, and every person's lived experience matters, and it's not a clear cut binary or categories. That it's a messy real world. It's a really complex real world, and that we cannot live in these binaries and keep thinking about binaries, keep thinking about am I oppressed, oppressor, and all of that. And we need to move forward, and we need to think about what we really want and the kind of change we want, and then go about doing things that are helping in that change. That realization, I think, is the next step after all of these other realizations. What we need to so we can't get rid of these insights. We need to be aware of how human beings can be oppressors, how structures are oppressive. All of that insights are really valuable, but then we go one step ahead and think about individuals as complex human beings who cannot be reduced to one or two or three, right, four or 100 identities. So intersectionality is so misunderstood, so misunderstood. So the moment you hear the word intersectionality, some people will be like, yeah, it's not just gender, it's also caste. I mean, of course, it comes from the idea that Intersectional feminism is the most famous use of intersectionality framework, and the whole idea that all women are worse off than all men breaks down when it comes to another dimension of oppression like caste. That is where a lot of people understand intersection. They're like, okay, no, actually, even there are different kinds of understanding. Okay, some people understand this as Dalit women's experience is different from Savarna women's experience, and therefore intersectionality matters because Dalit women's experience is different. That's the one kind of intersectionality people think about. This is just superposition of oppression, or superposition of gender axes of oppression. It's not intersectionality. Intersectionality really means that every individual's experience is different. That Savarna, cis heterosexual, able bodied, wealthy, upper caste, upper class, upper metropolitan man like me, I'm bringing up positionality for the first time. I have a lot of privileges. I am extremely privileged, and I keep saying that wherever I can. I didn't start at this in the beginning of this video. I didn't, but I say that I understand intersectionality a lot because of these privileges. Because I'm intersectionally privileged. I have the intersections of all privileges. I mean, a lot of privileges, but I consider it as all privileges. So my experience is going to be fundamentally different from anyone else's experience. It's not just about my identity. The same for 6 identities that I told, another person could be having a totally different experience. They might have gone through something in their childhood. They might have lived in a place where there are some other issues. I mean, you cannot understand individuals as a composition of their identities. That's what intersectionality is fundamentally about. You cannot understand someone as a Dalit Muslim woman, Dalit Muslim trans woman. There's this nice person in Delhi. I'm not going to take the name, but you probably know them. Their introduction in every forum is, this person is a Dalit Muslim trans woman, so they understand oppression. I mean, you don't have to be Dalit Muslim and trans to understand oppression. You can be a Savarna, cis heterosexual, religious Hindu, and you can understand oppression. I mean, do people understand is a different question. Can people understand? Yes, they can. You don't have to have certain lived experiences to understand other people's lived experiences. That's the fundamental of intersectional, because every individual is unique, right? So you cannot have shared experiences at all in the intersectionality framework. And when you cannot have shared experience at all, and if you still believe that you can understand others, then that understanding can only come if you can understand people whose lived experience is different from yours. I'll explain once more. What I'm saying is, if every individual's lived experience is different, which is what intersectionality says, and you still believe that one person can understand another person, then what you're also believing is that you need not have the same experience as someone else to understand them. And that's the basis of intersectionality. The idea is that you can think of individuals without having shared experiences. Of course, shared experience helps. I'm not negating shared experiences. Only if you're pregnant can you understand what pregnancy really feels like. But you can understand that if when someone says, this is how I feel like, you can listen to that and try to understand that. You can learn from it. That is what intersectionality tells us. That if you listen to people, you'll be able to learn from them. You'll be able to understand. So this is the underlying force of listening to others, of representation, of respecting each other's lived experience. Now, this particular aspect of intersectionality clears up all of the confusions, clears up all challenges everyone face, and gives you a nice particular path forward. I'll explain right after I drink a sip of water. So the world is intersectional. You don't question oppressor oppressed anymore, because you can exist as oppressor oppressed. All of that exists in everyone. The lived experience of everyone is different. Now you need to affect change in the society, and then you think about where you want to work. You might be looking at around you. You might be like, okay, my neighbor has a problem, and you'll not be thinking in terms of oppressed oppressor. Am I the oppressor? They're the oppressed. No, you'll be like, okay, my neighbor is right here. They're suffering from some oppression. Can I help in any way? So I go talk to the neighbor and figure out what's happening and do something if I can. If there's something I can contribute, I contribute. I learn from them, they learn from me. There's no confusion, because everyone is just human beings. And the same thing happens with a larger group also. You go to a slum, you walk around, you make it a point. You get really passionate about some problem. There's no water, clean water is not there, or there's no toilet. And then you're like, okay, there's no toilet. Let me ask if there's been an attempt to build one. Was Swachh Bharat happening? What's the situation? Let me figure out what's happening. You talk to people. You talk to the people who are responsible, people who are there, people who are lived there, people who are the BBMP workers, and in the metropolitan city, if it's metropolitan. You talk to them. You figure out what's the story. You see if there's already a toilet. What if you hadn't seen it? And then you figure out, okay, it's useful to have a toilet. Then you figure out how to get funding for the toilet. Can you write a grant? Can you get it from the government? Can you see, if you have time for doing all this, you solve that problem. You help people solve the problem. You're with the people. Or if it's a land issue, let's say you are in I'm going to use a French example. Let's say you're in Odisha, and this the hill that a particular group of people are living in has some bauxite mines, and then some rich people are displacing these people so that they can take the bauxite out. You go there, you figure out what's happening, you read about the history, you talk to people, you find out various kinds of issues going on. You realize it's beyond you. It's not a situation which you can fix, because you try something, they'll kill you or they'll get you arrested or something like that. So you organize people. You are like, okay, who are the best people to organize? You can't get people from Bangalore to go to Odisha and fight for bauxite mine. Fight for the hills. So you organize the people there. You try to see if they would like to continue living in that place. What if they really hate the hill? Like, what if they want to sit in the live in the valley? Then they're better off moving to the valley. So you talk to them, and if you figure out that they do have a connection with the hill, and they want to stay there, and that the mine is destroying the environment, and that they're being coerced out of there for through deceptive measures and all of that. Then you talk to people. Some of them would already be knowing it. Some of them would have already gotten a master's or a PhD or something. You get them to talk about those issues with a group of people. You organize events. You basically are part of the part of the people there, and you do things as people there would, if you have the energy to, or if you really imbibe. I think at least for me, this is what happens. Now, when you really understand this framework of intersectionality, and problems and not being savior and all of that, then you see that the whole world is full of problems. Okay, Manipur is happening there, but Palestine is happening here, and then there's water crisis in Bangalore, and there is some other issue in everywhere. So then you're like, how do I prioritize this? I If I have a personal connection with something, I do that work. If I don't feel a personal connection to any of these, then maybe I can focus on something else that I have a personal connection with. So I focus on what I at the moment feel like is the best use of my skills and my energy. I do not have to go to find a village in some corner of India which is suffering and then set up a clinic there and then fix the. I mean, I can do that if that gives me personal joy, and I would like to do that kind of work, but not out of the idea that, oh, I'm a savior, and for me to actually save the world I have to be there, be somewhere where there are problems. And there are problems everywhere. There are all kinds of problems you can solve from anywhere. This video is me trying to solve a particular problem of education of the oppressors. That's why this video I'm going to title as Pedagogy of the Oppressor, because there are people who still believe that they can be part of this whole system. They can enjoy all privileges, and then all they have to do is tweak the words they use and tweak their uh, and just say I'm constantly unlearning and relearning, and then it's become they've become revolutionary leaders. No, nobody is a revolutionary leader. It's very difficult to be a revolutionary leader. You have to spend a lot of time and energy and effort, and I mean, unless you are able to put all that off, it's better to think of yourself as another of those people who are trying to affect change in various ways. And then uh, yeah, and then don't okay, let me conclude this video with one more comparison. What Freire says, it is much better articulated by Ambedkar. Educate, agitate, organize is a better, in fact, articulation of what we need to do. What everyone needs to do is educate, agitate, organize. No oppression is going to go away unless there is. I'm not exactly sure what is the order in which it should be said. Agitate, educate, organize, educate, agitate, all of that. But basically, unless people are educating, and I think in education, I do have another point to make. This idea that there's no banking model is bad and all of that, that's stupid. There needs to be banking model. If I know something and you don't know that, I need to give it to you, I need to transfer it. I how do I know this? Because I lived by this stupid idea of Freire and opposing banking model, and I did a module, and then the people who I was supposed to facilitate their learning, I did a shit job because I was relying on them to bring up experiences, but they didn't have any experience. So I was supposed to actually do banking model there. I was supposed to show them certain things and give them certain vocabulary and talk about certain things so that they start thinking about it and they start experiencing it. Only then can I have a discussion on um, their common experiences and then discussion on that. So banking model is a important first step. In Pedagogy of the Oppressed, banking model is not required because the oppressed already knows about oppression. So you don't bank them about oppression. You need to do a Freirean synthesis, a Freirean dialogue, or whatever that is called. Because they know about oppression. You learn from them about oppression if you want. But in Pedagogy of the Oppressor, and when the topic is not about oppression, when the topic is something else, sometimes you need banking model. If you need to teach someone statistics, you can't do Freire. If you need to teach someone clinical medicine, you can't do Freire. Even sociology, for that matter, you need to do some amount of banking. And then of course everyone has experiences in their life which we can bring into the discussion. Adult learning is fundamentally built on the idea that people have experiences, and that they have agency, and that critical thinking and all of that. So we need to bring that. But don't think that banking model is completely useless. So in educate, a bit of education is banking model. You give people things that they have not had, books books that they have not read. Talk about the ideas in them. Talk about words that they have not heard about. Talk about concepts that they have not been exposed to. Give some banking. Of course they will relate to a lot of sociological concept from their own life, because sociology, a lot of people have lived experience of. But even in sociology, there are concepts which are totally new. I mean, unless you hear about it from someone, you will not be able to um, learn about it. So I learned this by doing this action reflection cycle. I try to teach people certain topic, and I went with the Freire model. So I called myself a facilitator, and I'm discussions and all of that. And people learned nothing. So I was like, we need to change this. So yeah, so educate, agitate. I don't know what agitate actually means. I think agitate means something like critical consciousness, wherein people are made aware of what needs to be done, and they made to think about the injustice and all of that, and then organize. So basically, educate to agitate to organize, or educate to organize to agitate. So you basically fight the system. You fight the system with people if it's useful, or if it's useful to provide some service, you provide that service if it's useful. So if you're a doctor and there is a slum and they have some sickness, of course fighting for a healthcare system that works for them might be important, and is important. But at the same time, it's also useful sometimes for a doctor to be there and treat someone. Like if you can do both, great. If you can do at least one, great. Do something that works for people. So that is, I think, the pedagogy of the oppressor. Um, I will make more videos. I think I really like this format. Um, Please do let me know what I should change in comments, or send it to me on email or WhatsApp, whatever. Or if you would like me to cover a certain topic before I choose, happy to do that. Thank you for listening. Bye bye. Good night.